know, they're talking about this blue wave. I don't think so. Look, if the Democrats get in, they're going to raise your taxes. You're going to have crime all over the place. You're going to have people pouring across the border. So why would that be a blue wave? I think it could be a red wave. I tell you what, really, I think it should be a red wave.
That, of course, was President Trump in Ohio over the weekend, cheering on what he hopes will be a red wave in November. But a progressive conference down in New Orleans, Netroots Nation, was full-on gearing up for 2020. Over the weekend, some top Democrats were essentially testing the waters for presidential campaign themes. In what Politico coined an early 2020 presidential dress rehearsal, here's a little bit of what went down in New Orleans.
It is time for us to say no to the politics of division, to say no to the ugly use of bigotry and fear. We say, no, you will not divide us.
Russians know racism and other forms of hate have always been America's Achilles heel. And we need to deal with that weakness.
We are at a time where injustice has grown to be normal in our country, and it's time for us to work together to get folk woke.
Jason Johnson and Bret Stephens back with me. Jason, I got to go to you first. You were at Netroots. What was your takeaway?
This is the most focused Netroots I've ever been to, and I've been to about 4. There were so many panels there that were specifically tailored to on-the-ground work. It was not a lot of sort of high-minded philosophical things. It was how to make sure voters can get back on the rolls if they've been purged, how to make sure you can get people to the polls, how to make sure you organize. If there is a blue wave coming, it is certainly backed by a lot of people who seem to have an actual strategy as opposed to worrying about message. I was surprised by how focused everybody was. Not a lot of screaming, not a lot of Russia.
Is there a unified strategy, though? Because I want to start with Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan from New Jersey. I always have Jersey on the mind. He is from the state of Ohio, and he opened his speech calling out the president for his tweet insulting LeBron James' intelligence. And, of course, LeBron James, an Ohio guy from Akron. Here's what Tim Ryan said.
I'm with LeBron James. And we're not going to let you come to Ohio, President Trump, and do your race baiting and make your racial statements against people in Ohio or anywhere across the country, whether it's LeBron James or Maxine Waters or anybody else. That ain't playing anymore, President Trump.
So Tim Ryan said no, and the other clips we heard over and over were say no to Trump, say no to Trump. But was there a prescription for what people should say yes to? Because many people could find President Trump reprehensible in every way. But then when they look down and they say, I want to be financially secure, socially free, physically safe, were those solutions offered to that audience?
They were. And Tim was one of the best people at that. Now, I'm biased. I've had students who went to work for Tim. He was the sort of neighboring congressman to me. But one of the other things he talked about in that speech is finding people who are in bad neighborhoods, who are trapped, who can't sell their houses. He talked about a woman who couldn't move out of her neighborhood because her house was only worth $4,000.
And those are people who voted for Trump.
Exactly.
Because their house was also worth $4,000 2 years ago.
Exactly. So he talked about, look, this is how we have to change the value of these people's lives. This is how we have to change the value of these people's communities so they're not trapped. I heard a lot of that there. That's why it was better. Look, the last Netroots I was at 2015 when people were shouting down Bernie Sanders and they were screaming and yelling about social justice issues. This is the one where they're talking about strategy, not just talking about who they like in 2020.
All right. Well, Mr. Stephens, then I want to share this because in your recent column, you make some very bold predictions about the 2020 presidential election. And you say, quote, Donald J. Trump has been decisively reelected as president of the United States. Efforts to impeach the president mainly serve to energize his base. Polling surveys suggested that wavering voters saw a Democratic Party more invested in humiliating the president than in helping him. Lay this out for me.
Okay, well, that column was datelined November 4th, 2020. It's not a prediction. It's a warning, okay? It's a warning about how Donald Trump will be reelected if Democrats move further to their blue state constituencies, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, instead of reaching out to the purple state constituencies. The key for taking back the White House is Democrats have to speak to those purple voters, those vote flippers who went for Obama in 2012 and then went for Trump in 2016. And it has to be an agenda about how I'm going to help you, not, hey, I hate the president even more, and I can say it in even more robust and vivid language. That's key.
To that point, Cory Booker's Get Woke message.
Right.
Is that a message to people whose vote he already has? Because Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton from Massachusetts, this is a centrist guy. He is calling for new leadership for the Democratic Party. Listen.
It's time for a new generation of leadership. I have given a lot of thought to the kind of leadership that we want, what we want to see in our new leaders. One thing is we've got to have leaders who have vision, who will really talk about the future, not just criticize Trump and the Republicans, but let's talk about what Democrats stand for, how we're going to bring jobs back, how we're going to be strong and safe with national security.
I mean, you hear that and you say right on, but saying that, he's butting right up against the best fundraiser Democrats have, and that's Nancy Pelosi. So what does the future of the Democratic Party look like?
I really think if the Democrats end up winning the House, I think Nancy Pelosi is out. Conor Lamb, who
then
just won.
Who's in?
I think Tim's going to run. I think you're going to see a lot of Midwestern people. I think
Tim Ryan.
Yeah, I think Tim Ryan's going to run. I forget the name of the gentleman. I can't believe from California right now.
Eric Swalwell.
Yeah, Swalwell. I think those are probably your top two contenders. There's going to be some
issues.
Those
are youngsters.
That's what's important. Sometimes you need a wartime consigliere, right? You need guys who can fight. And I think, look, Nancy Pelosi deserves a gold watch. She has done an excellent job, but there's a new generation of people who want more aggression, not just about going after Trump, but about the issues that matter in America, not some of the high-minded stuff in D.C.
All right. Well, Brett, when we talk about voter engagement, Democrats are seeing a bump in voter turnout, 84% more than they saw in 2014 in this year's primaries. Is that enough?
Well, look, it might be. I think it's if I had to place a small wager, I'd say Democrats are going to take the House, fail to take the Senate. Yeah. Here's a problem that Democrats have, which is sentiment that the country is going in the right direction has been rising. It's still well below the wrong track sentiment, but almost steadily for the last year, it's been going up from like 29% to about I think 41%.
We're selfish creatures, especially if we're living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
We're willing to say, the president is a foul and awful person, but I got tuition paid for.
That's exactly right. I think Democrats are underplaying the fact that you do have a relatively strong economy. You have surges, and I understand all the problems, deficit, wage stagnation, and those are points that ought to be emphasized by Democrats. But don't underplay the fact that you've got a very unpopular president, nonetheless riding a seemingly positive economic wave. Democrats are going to have to find a way to get under that.
That's the key thing about this. This shouldn't even be happening. With an economy this good, the Democrats shouldn't be winning the way they're already winning. So that, to me, says there's indicative that there's this hunger out there. There's a frustration with the American people that seems to transcend the economy, because Trump should not be in the low 40s.
But if the economy is the winning strategy, are Democrats not running a risk that they're pushing against the economy and going further to the left to a more socialist agenda?
I think when you look at Georgia, I think when you look at Ohio, I think when you look at Virginia, people are talking about issues like health care. They're talking about taxes. They're talking about tuition for schools. They're talking about the environment. The imprisoning of children at the border has just damaged the Republicans so much, even in purple states, amongst women voters, against those suburban women. I think the Democrats are in a very good position by staying away from the economy and talking about what the government should be doing, not just what the president is.
Crazy template for Democrats, but they should consider it. George W. Bush won the presidency in 2000 despite a very strong economy by calling himself a compassionate conservative and promising to restore honor and dignity to the White House.
Compassion and decency. I think most, hopefully all Americans would certainly say we want that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.